How to get her addicted to you forever. In this video, I'm going to be discussing my own personal journey of how I went from addicted to weed and video games, having no women in my life, to actually where I'm at right now. 4 years into my relationship, I would argue that my girlfriend is actually more addicted to me right now than she has ever been. So I'm going to be going through this video showing you guys an overview of what actually is addiction, that way you guys can understand the process. Then I'm going to show you guys the 5 steps that you actually need to go through to get a hot girl addicted to you. And I'm not just talking about for the short term, I'm talking about forever, literally, okay? So the first 3 steps or so is how to actually get her intrigued and addicted. And then in steps 4 and 5, we're gonna get into some more long-term advanced seduction techniques to actually take that intrigue, that curiosity, that craving into a deep, long-term, forever type addiction, which is honestly where I feel like I'm at in my own relationship. I would argue that I am very, very close to being irreplaceable. And again, this was not some manipulative shit. I'm just speaking from experience, reverse engineering how I was able to successfully do this, as well as how I was negatively impacted from this process with drugs and video games earlier on in my journey. So let's get into step number 1 and how this applies to getting women. So the first step that would need to happen is that her life becomes better when you're around. Okay, and you could almost look at this, I would almost call step 1, you become the gateway drug. Okay, so what that means is people go about their day-to-day life, right? They have a normal life, there's a stressful life, there's jobs, there's chores, there's bills, whatever happens. And then at some point they interact with a substance or an activity or a person, and it gives them a very unique, strong, positive emotional experience that is different than their day-to-day life. Okay, that's why people actually like to do drugs. They have a long stressful day, or they have a long stressful week, and then they go out and they drink alcohol, or they go out and they smoke weed at the end of the night, or maybe they have a really low energy, boring, no dopamine day, and then they drink coffee and they get this like rush off of coffee. Okay, or they go home and then they play a video game to escape like their boring day-to-day thing. Whatever the thing is, it makes them feel really good. And that is step 1, that's the foundation, is her life is better when you're around, okay? So you become the unique, strong, positive emotional experience. And that would be the equivalent of date 1, date 2, date 3, showing her a really, really good time. As you can imagine, you're not gonna be able to do this with the girl if your communication, your vibe, your confidence, the way you run a date, the connection that you can create with the girl, the amount of tension and arousal, all of those things need to be in place in order to create a really strong, positive, unique emotional experience with a girl. Okay, and if as I'm saying this is like, oh shit, that sounds like a lot. Well, no shit, dude. We're talking about how to actually take a hot girl and make her addicted to you for life. All right, this isn't, hey, say this one toxic line and she'll be addicted to you forever, okay? I'm not like these other fucking coaches on YouTube, okay? This is like deep, advanced psychology. We're talking about like actually getting a woman addicted to you long term, which I don't even think some of you guys realize. You probably won't even want that once you get there. And that's a whole nother fucking story, but let's keep going because there's some powerful stuff as we go through this video. That's essentially what step 1 is, okay? You need to be able to show her a really good, strong, unique emotional experience. If it's not unique, then it's very replaceable, okay? To become an addiction means it's very hard to replace that thing, okay? Like a drug or something that people get addicted to, there's a very unique experience. You can't just replace that thing. If I was addicted to coffee or caffeine, I can't just drink water. It just doesn't hit the same way. If I was addicted to a specific drug, it's because it gives me a very unique emotional experience that I can't find from other things. And oftentimes when people are trying to quit an addiction, they have to find something that they could replace the thing with. Okay, so the better your game, your conversation, your communication, your vibe, the experience of you is, all right, and that's using everything that I teach on my channel. If you can get better with these things, guys, that's how you give the girl a very strong, unique emotional experience, almost like a gateway drug. You become the gateway drug, which now brings us into step 2. Now, the initial intrigue and attraction that you're creating in step 1 is getting her more drawn in, starting to get her to think about you a little bit. Maybe, she's even reaching out, investing a little bit. She's getting a little bit more aroused. That's gonna get you into step 2, which is how this thing translates into the bedroom. So step 2 really is bedroom sexual experience, just kind of rocking her world sexually. So if step 1 is becoming the gateway drug, I think step 2 is the dope D. And guys, by the way, it's not literally just about your D. I'm talking about the entire experience of her and intimacy and intercourse with you. Part of that, what entails, is actually having sex with her and fucking her well. That's not all it is, but I would say that's the foundation to this thing, is being able to fuck her well, okay? Because just to be honest, I've never met a girl that was actually addicted to a dude long-term who was the 1 minute man who never got her off, never even pleased her sexually, okay? So a main criteria for just the bedroom in general, and again, you don't need to be mind-blowing porn star level, but you do need to be able to at least satisfy her in the bedroom minimum. But most women aren't getting amazing experiences in the bedroom consistently, okay? And also, it's probably relatively vanilla with those. If you can be the guy that's getting her to do things like being submissive as fuck in the bedroom, giving her multiple orgasms, including in some level of dirty talk, some level of commanding, some level of role play or BDSM, where she's really falling into your frame, those are super strong, unique, emotional experiences that she's not getting anywhere else. Step 1 and step 2 is the foundation, in my opinion. Essentially, all of that is like pickup and dating, really, and that's what I teach on my channel. But those two things, when done properly, are gonna really start to get the girl intrigued and starting to get addicted. She's starting to crave you more. And in step 3, 4, 5, I'm gonna show you guys how this like really goes way over the top. But just to give you guys some insight into how this happened in my own relationship, was like step 1, I gave my girlfriend an amazing experience the first 5-10 times we hung out, honestly. So she was really enjoying me. And in the bedroom too, I was doing unique things in the bedroom. I still remember to this day her telling me, I really loved the way that you were talking to me in the bedroom. That was like, that got me so turned on and aroused. Like, I haven't experienced that before. So that was a very unique experience with her. And I've had countless women tell me this too. It's like they don't really experience dirty talk or multiple orgasms or any of this kind of like sexual experience stuff frequently, at least, okay? So if you're a dude that's doing these two things very well, you're off to a great start. Now that we have the girl intrigued, craving us, starting to think about us more because of this unique experience that we're giving her, how do we take this craving into an actual addiction? Okay, and that brings us into step number 3, which I like to call she's chasing the high. Now, notice how step number 3 is not called the high is chasing her. I've said this countless times. You need to give her the space to chase and pursue you. Someone cannot chase something that is already running directly at them head on. And that's what a lot of you dudes are doing, okay? You start talking to the girl, maybe even have had sex with the girl. You start getting so caught up in the fucking thing that you're over pursuing or you're over emotionally invested, and it's actually repelling the girl. Okay, so step 1, step 2 gets her craving. There needs to be some level of space. Remember what I was telling you guys in the overview. Someone has a normal life, then they interact with the thing that they get addicted to. They have a strong, amazing emotional experience that's unique, and then they go back into their day-to-day life. Okay, and it's that contrast of there and then they're here and it's really powerful, and then they go back into their life and there's that contrast, and that's what makes them start thinking about that thing and start craving that thing more. The way that an addiction is created, like if I were to think back on the first time that I got addicted to smoking weed or playing a video game, I didn't just smoke the weed and then I was just all in on smoking weed. I didn't just turn into Wiz Khalifa. I smoked one night on a weekend. It was an amazing experience for a couple hours. I woke up the next day, went back to my day-to-day. A week went by, the next week, and I smoked weed again. Again, it was an amazing, unique, emotional experience that I haven't had before. Okay, and by the 3rd or 4th time, I was starting to actually get excited to go do the thing again. And by the 4th or 5th time, now I was really starting to crave the thing. And as I kept craving it more and more, I started doing it more frequently. And it was, again, an amazing experience. And that's what turned it into an addiction. That's what step 1, 2, and 3 is. If the first time I smoked the weed, I just stayed high and I kept smoking, at some point, I would have to be like, okay, you know what, like enough. I gotta fucking chill and get back to my life. That's what you guys are doing with the girl. You're going too far into it, and even if it's great, you're too much into it. There isn't that contrast, and that's where she starts to fucking pull back, okay? So that's the problem. Same thing with the video game. You start playing the video game, it's going great. At some point, you would actually have to decline the video game and get back to your life, even if it was going really good. But if somebody cut the video game off from you when it was going really good and you had to go back to your life, you start thinking about the thing, and you can't wait to go do the thing again. And by the time you go do the thing, it's this big emotional rush. And it's even like that in my own relationship, guys. Like the times where my girlfriend likes me the most, you know when that is? It's when time has gone by. It's when days have gone by and we haven't seen each other. And then she's so excited to finally see me. She's all over me. Okay, like literally that just happened. Like 2-3 days went by, I haven't seen her. We usually see each other a lot. She finally came back. She's all fucking lovey-dovey. She's all over me. She's craving that emotional experience. But when I'm always there, when I'm right next to her and we just hung out 3 days in a row, there's no craving, there's no contrast, there's no space. It's that contrast that actually creates the craving, guys. That's how you get a girl addicted to you. And this is what I've helped a lot of men accomplish. If you want to get women addicted to you using steps 1, 2, and 3, guys, apply it to work with me directly. There's a link in the description. Fill out that application. I promise you this shit is life-changing. I promise you, okay? So that's why step 1, 2, and 3 is the course to getting an addiction. Now I wanna go into 4 and 5 and show you how to blow this thing wide open and actually get them addicted to you forever. And in step number 4 is where a fantasy world is starting to be created between the two of you guys, okay? AKA, you become the escape from her world. Let me explain what this means, is that now that we actually have her craving and addicted and we're having sex and you guys are seeing each other a lot and she's really into you, at this point, you now actually have a high level of influence over the girl. You as the man, if you want to keep this woman, you need to be leading, you need to be giving her guidance, you need to be educating her properly, you need to be demonstrating some level of expertise in the woman's life. And this is where a lot of you dudes are fucking up when it comes to long-term dating and courtship and influence on a woman. You don't have a craft, a skill, a passion, a purpose, a path in life. You don't have any level of expertise to educate the girl on. Okay, so it's gonna be really hard for her to fall into your world when you don't have a world to get into. All right, if I were to think back on my relationship, like when I met my girl, she came into my world. I started to educate her on diet, fitness, male-female dynamics, pickup and dating. I was passionate about these things. I had built up something and had an expertise around these things. So I started educating her on these pieces. And it was really interesting stuff. My influence and my education and my leadership started to change her perspective on the world. Okay, she started to see the world differently, so much so she couldn't even communicate with a dude or with a person without analyzing their communication, or starting to see the dynamics at play, or starting to see who's higher status, who's lower status, this dude's beta, what's the social hierarchy here, these people aren't counting the calories, these people are living an unhealthy lifestyle. She started to see the world completely differently. Okay, that was the level of influence that I actually had. So much so to the point where I legitimately don't even think that this girl could actually go out and go on a date anymore with a regular dude. She can no longer date a normal fucking dude. Okay, and so that's another important part, is that as you start to lead the woman and you start to bring her more and more into your world and she's falling into your frames, she starts to go so deep into that frame that there really is not that much competition anymore. It's almost like she's falling so far into this lane where it's only a one-of-one lane, okay? So the further she goes into that frame, the more emotional investment, the more of the direction she's going into your world, it becomes really hard for there to be as much competition. And a dynamic starts to be created between the two of you guys. And again, I understand that I'm 4 years into a relationship, but this can even be happening in the first couple months of dating a woman. I remember 3 months into the relationship, she started telling me things about her coworkers, her friends, her family, people she would hang out with. She would tell me like, oh, I was with Jessica, or oh, I was with Susan. She was telling me about her relationship, or she was telling me about her coworkers and what they were eating. And she was telling me these stories, and you know what she would say? She was like, they just don't get it. They just don't get it. That's what she was telling me. And what that means is she started to understand my perspective so much that when she goes back into her day-to-day life and she starts to compare life with you to life without you, and if you're influencing her positively, she should start to see how great your influence is. And as a result of that, she starts to fall more into the frame. So you slowly start to create a world or a dynamic between the two of you guys that the outside world just doesn't understand to the same degree, okay? And as a result of that, it creates this effect where it makes you more and more irreplaceable, okay? And addiction is very closely correlated with things that are irreplaceable, okay? And that's what this is doing. Now, ideally, you're influencing her for the greater good. I'm not saying that by the end of this, she's like some rundown cracker who's like dependent on you like a drug addict. No, no, no. You're building her up, you're leading her, you're guiding her to a better life. And that's what a lot of you guys don't understand. This isn't like some toxic shit. This is like how to be a fucking leader, how to be a man that influences a woman positively as a role model, as damn near a father figure long term, to build her up to be a better woman that falls into your frame, that helps support you, but you're the fucking leader. This is why this is so fucking powerful. If you think this is toxic, go watch some fucking other whack ass coach on YouTube who's gonna tell you the one toxic line to get her addicted to you. No, dude, what I'm talking about here is high level shit. Like, I don't see anybody on YouTube talking talking about concepts like this, honestly. That's why I'm so passionate as I'm talking about this. But this is number 4, okay? This is number 4. This is what I literally started to see within my relationship within the first couple months. And the further and further we went into it, the stronger that dynamic became. And it's so deep now, 3.5 years, coming up on 4 years, where it's like literally if the relationship were to end, I almost, like, I don't even know what she would do. Literally, I don't know what she would do. She'd have to find another person on a very similar level, which is very, very difficult. I'm not saying I can't be replaced. I'm not saying, you know, we'll be together forever. I'm just showing you guys from my own experience. This is what's been going on for 4 years, and it's creating a really, really powerful result. Now let's move into the last point. Now that we've got her addicted, we're influencing her properly for the greater good, we're creating a world between the two of us, a bubble. You might have heard people say, like, you create a bubble between you and the girl. That could happen the first initial interaction, but that keeps going and growing further and further for months and years, and that's where we're at right now. Now let's move into the last one, which is a new identity is created. And that's because if you did steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 properly, you should be influencing, leading, guiding the girl in a better direction. Like, that's what happened with my relationship. My girl came in, she lost some weight, she got her gym on point, she got her diet on point. I started educating her more. She started helping me with my business. We started building the brand together, right? I actually was able to start paying her at some point too. Eventually she quit her job and started coming into my company. You've seen her on some videos of mine on my channel as well. A new identity has been starting to get created. And honestly, if I look at it, if I were to look at her life, she legitimately would say that she has her life up until the point that she started dating me, and then she has her new life, the life of us that we have been since we started dating, okay? So if you start to influence somebody more and more and more positively, and they start moving in a better and better direction, that is how an identity is starting to become created. If I were to think about my own self-development journey, a new identity has been created for the better, and I'm almost addicted, not almost, I'm literally addicted to creating this better and better identity because of the positive reinforcement loop, okay? So I've taken the concept of addiction from video games and weed, I've used it to self-development in my own life to build up my own character and my own business, as well as my own girlfriend, as well as other men. I look at my coaches within my company, I look at other men that I've helped. It's the same exact concept. Like, dudes come to me sometimes because they're in a normal day-to-day life, they want to make it better. They take my guidance, it creates a positive emotional experience that's unique. It's different than what they've been experiencing. It's more positive. That's a positive reference experience. That continues to build, okay? They go into their life, they have a positive reference experience, they get more bought in, okay? I'm not talking about drugs, I'm talking about self-development. And then from that, they get more bought into the process. And as that keeps going on, a new identity is starting to become created. It's almost like an escape from the old persona, the old identity that you once had. If you think back, if I were to think back on my own journey, right? There was an old identity of me. The new guy I've created, it has escaped that identity, escaped that matrix, escaped that shitty life, that shitty mentality, the shackles of society. And as I got further and further, or as I help these guys get further and further along, they get more bought into what I teach, my community, their progress, their new world, and eventually a new identity is created, okay? And that's the same reason my girlfriend is so into me. That's the same reason a lot of my friendships or my relationships, or even with my clients, these guys we're very close friends at this point. It's not even like a business thing. There are guys that I've made massive transformations with where we're fucking boys at this point. So that's how you can get a person to get really bought into something, to eventually get them addicted, to eventually influence them and create a better life, a new identity for that person. So whether it's influencing a hot girl, or you could use this in your own business, or you use this in friendships or relationships, you use it for the greater good, okay? This video was not some dark, manipulative, sadistic shit, okay? This is powerful, very high level shit that I don't see being taught anywhere else. You build up your women, you build up your business, you build up your friendships and relationships, and at the end of the day, it's a win-win for everybody, okay? So if you like this, if you wanna work with me directly to build up your own social confidence, have that unbreakable level of social confidence, get more women, more dates, create a connection with me too, I could help you. I would love to do that, dude. Click the link in the description, fill out an application for an opportunity to work with me personally. Peace out.